What's up, Mario Hernandez? What's up, everybody? My brother Mario was telling me that I should stream, so I figured I'd get on and stream for a little bit. What do I think about Fairlife protein shakes? They taste good and the macros look great, but in reality, they put in a bunch of chemicals and stuff. So I wouldn't recommend that over just actual whole foods. Is standing bench press a good exercise? Standing bench press is essentially an overhead press, so yes. Do I miss Roman Abramovich? Yes, I really do miss Roman Abramovich. What's the most functional exercise? Probably a squat or a deadlift, I would say. Because it's like squatting is like getting up and down from a chair. Deadlifting is picking things up. So is Chelsea your favorite club? Yes. UFC 299 picks. I think O'Malley will win. I think Saint Denis will win. I think Poirier is a little overrated. And what were the other fights? I think Jack Della Maddalena is going to win as well. And I think Michael Venom Page is going to win. And then I think Piotr Jan will win. What are the best exercises to increase punch and kick speed? Plyometrics. Is 5'11" too tall to build muscle? There's no such thing as being too tall to build muscle. Is squats, dumbbell RDL, and Bulgarian split squats enough for legs? Yeah, but make sure you're going into roughly like 6 to 12 sets in a workout. Really depends. I don't think there's a number one rep range for or number one set for a workout, but whichever one you find the best for you, do that. Favorite basketball player? Probably right now, I would say Jimmy Butler. But when I was growing up, it was Dwayne Wade. Is plant and animal protein the same? No. I train legs, but they're still my worst muscle group to grow. What do I do? I would make sure you're doing it at the beginning of your workout and maybe add an extra leg day, I would say. Who's your favorite player on Chelsea? That's a good question. I like a lot of the Chelsea players, but I would say right now it's probably Moises Caicedo, I'd say, because he's been playing really well. Have I ever done shrooms? No. What's your bicep size? I have no idea. I don't measure that. What new hobby should I pick up? Well, I'm not sure what your hobbies are, but I think lifting and starting a martial art is a really good way to do self-improvement. Doing a video talking about soccer? I don't know. It'd be kind of hard because all I do is watch Chelsea, essentially. Thoughts on Raheem Sterling? I think he's pretty good. He had a good beginning of the season, but he's slowed down. How are you so tall as a Guatemalan? My dad is pretty tall. My mom is short, though. What's my vertical? I have no idea. What are your hobbies outside MMA and the gym? Pretty much just that, and obviously doing YouTube, I guess, but I don't really think I'd call that a hobby. Who you got in a super fight between Sugar versus Topuria if it ever happens? I think Topuria is going to beat him as well. Should I go to the gym or learn a martial art is my biggest question. I can only choose one membership. That's a good question. I would start with lifting weights, to be honest. And then eventually, once you put on a little bit of muscle, go into martial arts. But I would say probably lifting. That's what I did. I lifted for a while, and then I got back into martial arts. Do you think there's some such thing as being too old to play basketball professionally? Well, I mean, your athleticism is going to drop. So it's just more difficult. So I would say probably. What are your thoughts on the comments keeping you big as hell? I mean, they're just comments. I don't really think much about it. Is calisthenics worth it if I don't have money for a gym? Yeah, I think going to the gym is better because you have a lot more variety. But if you don't have access to the gym, calisthenics are good. Is Damian Lillard aesthetic? I guess so. It's harder to say basketball players are aesthetic because you don't actually see their physiques versus obviously MMA fighters you do. And MMA fighters also have to get so lean versus basketball players. They just have to get into a healthy leanness, but their goal is not to be shredded because that's not great for performance. Thoughts on power and hand cleans? They're good exercises. They're a little bit harder to learn, but they're good exercises. Where do you think you would be if you weren't into sports MMA in the gym? I think I was meant to do this, so I don't really see anything like what would I be doing if I didn't do that. Any advice for front shoulder pain when doing pressing movements? I would just do some rotator cuff strengthening and then eventually progress back into it and make sure your mobility is good. Are weighted push-ups the best chest exercise? I don't really like to say best exercise for anything. I think a lot of them have their place. Best way to get a PTA job with no experience? I don't know, dude. I honestly wasn't like super into school, to be honest. I kind of just did it. I was kind of just there. I was almost like sleepwalking. How did you pass anatomy? I ended up having to learn on the fly how to study because that was the hardest class. It was gross anatomy. I don't know if you guys know what gross anatomy is, but that was the hardest class I had to take. I just figured it out along the way. I always find a way to get through my classes. So, or I found a way because I'm not in class anymore. Your thoughts on Dracus Duplessis? I like him. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's got a really strong mind. Opinion on calisthenic athletes that skip leg day? I think that's stupid. How many reps and sets for optimal strength growth? Strength growth, I guess strength gains. Optimal sets, I wouldn't really say there's an optimal amount of sets. I still think like 6 to 8 sets per workout or per muscle group is the best. In terms of reps, definitely 1 to 5. I like 3 to 5 though. Can you say hi to Luca, please? Hi, Luca.
There's a lot of people in
Oh yeah.
140. That's crazy.
Are machine flies effective? Yeah, I mean, you're hitting the chest. I prefer cable flies, but you know, it's an isolation exercise, so I don't really have much of an issue with it. I definitely have more beef with the with like chest presses and stuff, machine chest presses. Would you ever go on a podcast to debate a bodybuilder? Um, it depends if it's a big podcast. What is bad about Mike Mentzer's training advice? It's just outdated, but he does have a lot of good mentality stuff. He's like high intensity training is good. He does speak a lot of good things, but there's a lot of stuff that he says that's just outdated. Are you the most humble and handsome fitness influencer? Of course. What are your opinion on the Santa Cruz Medicinals guy? I mean, I don't really watch his content. Dude's a nerd though. He was saying that I didn't train, even though I literally showed an example that I do train. But yeah, dude's only does jujitsu because he's scared to get hit in the face. Is it okay to do martial arts on a punching bag at the end of every weightlifting session? Yes, but make sure you're eating your carbs afterwards. Having your carbs after your workout is very important. How long should a cutting phase last? Whenever you feel like you're done. What do you think about the influence anime has on gym culture? Is it cringe or not? I think it's very cringe, to be honest. Thoughts on Corey Armstrong Fitness? I'm pretty sure that dude bought subscribers. This guy asks if you should cut our bulk. That's your decision. It's really doesn't matter. It's based on your goals. How do I get more vascular forearms? You just build muscle and then get lean. I saw a lot more progress on my veins when I cut, which is crazy because I never had crazy veins. But when I got lean, obviously I had a lot of veins. So thoughts on overcoming isometrics? It's a useful tool that you can add into your workout routine. Is it important to make sure that I can squat with depth with my heels touching the ground? I would try and get there. I think there's too much of people are too strict on, oh, you have to go ass to grass or you have to go parallel. Like if you're close to parallel, in my opinion, that's good enough. You don't have to overthink it. Have any life advice for teenagers? I think getting into sports is a great way to learn a lot about yourself and also strengthen your mind. From where are you in Guatemala? Well, I was born in the United States, but my parents are from the Guatemala City. The exercise to grow veins in your YouTube actually works. I think that's mostly bro science. I think the easiest way to get veins is just to get lean. How to fix lower back pain? Guys, with the pain question, there's no such thing as like a one-stop shop or one thing that can fix your pain because every patient is different. I did make a video on low back pain that could help, but when it comes to pain, there's just not one solution for everything. That's why physical therapy is more complicated than just, oh, do this exercise and you're done. Or you have low back pain, this is the exercise you do. No, it could be from anything. It could even be from the hip, could be from actual direct low back issues. Could be from anything. So how can I make my lower pecs be more defined and prominent? I would do dips. Which exercises stunt your height? Just depth jumps. So that's when you're like jumping off of like a box and then jumping again. What is your belt in jiu-jitsu? I just do no-gi now, so don't have a belt. Is boxing a good combat sport? Yeah, I think kickboxing and Muay Thai are better just because it's more complete. I mean, you're ignoring half your body with boxing, so. Barbell or trap bar deadlift? Both of them. How many optimal sets for cable lateral raises? Well, with any exercise, I would say 3 to 5, but you don't have to fall under that range. What's your favorite grappling discipline? Probably wrestling. Is wrestling a good combat sport? Yes, it's very good. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of the top UFC fighters come from a wrestling background. How long does it take to get jacked? I mean, that's subjective, and also like that mentality is just not great because that means you're not going to do it unless it's fast. I think that's a bad mentality. Do you like WWE? No. Can I squat and deadlift with sciatica? I mean, if you don't have pain, you let the pain guide you, but I would see somebody about that because I'm not an expert on that. Who's going to win, Benoit Saint-Denis or Dustin Poirier? I think Benoit Saint-Denis will. How difficult was leaving your PT degree? Not difficult at all. If I train abs like a bicep, will they show through fat? Yeah, but I think that's kind of a waste of time in my opinion. If you just do your standing exercises, do your carries, and then get lean, that's the best way to have good abs. Is decline bench actually bad because my lower chest is lacking? Not really. I think dips are just better than a decline bench, to be honest. But most people don't struggle with lower chest development, so that's why I don't recommend it. But if you are someone who struggles with lower chest development, then go ahead and do that. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. Can I take creatine at 13? I mean, you technically can, but I don't understand why you would want to. Like, I think you should start taking creatine. I started taking creatine when I was 19. I think once you're very serious and consistent at the gym, then start taking creatine. But in my opinion, there's no need to rush it. For obliques, it's important to train them through both explosive movement and wood choppers. Yeah, I would say explosive is more important, but also don't forget anti-rotation movements too. So like resisting rotation. What is the best martial art in your opinion? Karate, boxing, capoeira, wrestling, etc. I I wouldn't say there's one best martial art. I just like striking. So I would say Muay Thai or kickboxing just because I like striking. Did you ever fight in any martial arts? Well, I don't understand. Do you mean like competitively? Who wins in a fight, you or your brother? I don't like that question because me and him are just trying to help each other improve. Thoughts on snatching for athletes? It's a good exercise to help you build power. So I think it's a good exercise. Thoughts on Anderson Tate? I think he's doing a lot of good for young men, especially. Any opinions on Muhammad Ali? Very charismatic, has a good, strong mind. So I think Floyd Mayweather is one of the best boxers ever, but that might just be a casual take because I'm not a big boxing fan. So, do you run for training? No. Advice for someone getting knocked out for the first time in sparring? I would just take a little bit of a break. Which martial arts is the closest to a street fight? All of them combined, because you literally could go to the ground or you'll stay standing up. I would say jiu-jitsu is probably the least realistic, or at least gi jiu-jitsu is. Martine, dirty bulk when? I'm not a big fan of dirty bulking at all. Should I stretch? If that's something that you want, then yeah, I think stretching is good for your joints overall. So if you want to stretch after your workouts, I would say. How can you make your chest wider? It's mostly genetics and just building your chest. There's no specific like, okay, you got to do this to make your chest wider. How do you train your rear delts with dumbbells? You can do like wide grip rows, or you can lean over and do rear delt flies. What do you think of bone conditioning in traditional martial arts? It's necessary. I mean, you got to condition your shins to kick effectively. But a lot of it just comes from repeatedly kicking just the pads or a bag. Thoughts on reverse grip bench press? I've never done it, but it could be useful just to switch it up a little bit. Is that Mario typing in the background? Yeah. Which supplements are the best to take? Creatine, magnesium, zinc, and vitamin D, I would say. What rep range should I stick to weight training for fighting? I think you should train in a variety of rep ranges, not just one. What are the best back exercises? Deadlift, some sort of row variation, and a pull-up variation. What do you think of Francis Ngannou boxing? He's obviously pretty good. I mean, he really shocked me with his performance against Tyson Fury. Thank you for the donation, friends. Are you doing overall good? Yes, I'm doing good. Hopefully you're doing good as well. Are there any other exercises for upper chest aside from incline bench? Low to high cable flies. Am I the guy Sally Safari wants or needs? She needs. What can you say to prevent hair loss because of high testosterone? I would see a doctor about that, dude. I'm not I'm not an expert on hair loss.
People won't even get into that scenario.
Yeah. How can rib flares be fixed? It's more like internal oblique strengthening. Someone asked if I have a hairline. There we go. Hairline's there. How can I train my back without equipment? I would have to look. I'm not a big expert on body weight exercises for back. Martine, what is your skincare routine? I just have some stuff that Teach Hanley sent to me, and I use that. And the cool thing about Teach Hanley is that they give you an instruction card, so you just know when to put what on. Your voice is much different in shorts? Yeah, because the shorts, you got to turn it up. Can you debate Coach Milo Wolf on extreme range of motion? I mean, I could. The whole thing with the extreme range of motion is that they don't compare it to standard range of motion is my thing with that one. Like they don't, because range of motion, right? Full range of motion could be different for different people. And like, for example, also the stretch position, right? Maybe I'm tight and my full range of motion is different. It's like, that's kind of hard to compare. Like they also don't compare full range of motion. Like a lot of the times, like they won't compare a crazy stretch to like, oh, actual full range of motion of the chest, of like I'll say like a leg extension, for example. Like the studies that talk about stretch mediated hypertrophy for the leg extensions, they only go to 100 degrees of knee flexion, not like 140. So it's actually not really researched heavily. There still needs to be a lot more research on it. What is the best chest exercise for making a fuller chest? Like I said, I don't think there is a best exercise for any muscle group. You got to do a variety. The most humble. Love you, brother. Love you too, man. Do you know how to fix elbow pain from lifting? Like I said before, there's not one cause of elbow pain. There's not one cause of low back pain. You know, you'd actually have to see someone about it so they can actually do tests and measures on you and then figure out what is actually wrong with you. Thoughts on your huge female audience? I love my huge female audience and they love me back. Have a video explaining how to get good hips for basketball players. Guys, I feel like a lot of people think that, like, yes, there are sport-specific exercises, but a lot of sports training is going to be the same, regardless if you're like a golf player or a tennis player or an MMA. Like, you're going to be training the movements and then maybe have some emphasis on different movements or different exercises or different accessory movements. But a lot of athletes train the same. Do you have any tips on how to get rid of a torso dominant physique? Don't really know what you mean by torso dominant physique. Like, do you have more muscle on your torso or is your torso just longer? Top 5 fitness YouTubers, me and my brother Mario. I don't really watch fitness YouTube though. Thanks for always praising the farmer carries. They help my forearm so much. You're welcome, bro. Yeah, farmer carries are such a great exercise that literally no bodybuilder ever talks about, which is just crazy. Who do you think would win in a street fight, John Jones or Mike Tyson in their prime? John Jones would murder him. Not even close. Some exercises for strengthening glutes. Lunges, squats are good, and then hip thrust. Is hip flexor training worth doing? Yes, definitely is. Thoughts on testosterone supplements? You don't need specific supplements. I think you're just overdoing it. It's just ridiculous in my opinion. Thoughts on the dumbbell fly? It's not I wouldn't say it's my favorite exercise just because the resistance profile is just ass on that one. But I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger likes it. If you happen to do it and you like it, then I wouldn't say there's anything terrible with doing it. Oh, these questions are going kind of fast here. Is full body good training split? Yeah, if you like it. I've always said that there's no such thing as a best training split. It's whichever one that fits with your schedule and the one that you enjoy the most is the one you should do. Best leg exercise, just a lunge, a squat, and maybe like an RDL. Is it upper lower split good? I'm not a big fan of the upper lower split just because you put a lot of emphasis on your legs and then less emphasis on your upper body. Can you gain strength in the cut? It's possible, but I wouldn't count on it. Your goal on a cut really should be to maintain strength. Exercises to train lateral flexion. I think suitcase carries, so stability work. That's what I like for lateral flexion. But I'm assuming you're talking about the core though, because I mean there's lateral flexion of the neck too. So how do you prevent lower back pump from squats and deadlifts? I would try and squeeze your core more. That should take a little bit of emphasis off the low back, and then just mind muscle connection. Focus on using your glutes rather than using your low back and glutes and hamstrings. Do you prefer volume or intensity? I think they're both important. I just think intensity is way overrated right now. Should I do power training afterwards before cardio? No, you should do it before cardio. Can you do pistol squats? I've tried it before. I can kind of do one. Do an MMA gym. You should make a video, like a vlog. I could do that. It's just that my channel is mostly focused on fitness, so I don't think my YouTube would like that one because not everybody would tune into it because I would have to make like a separate channel for that. Best exercise for fighters. I made a video on how Leon Edwards trains, and you should watch that video. That kind of goes over that. How many times should you train plyometrics a week? 2 to 3, but a lot of it depends on where you're at in the season, but I would say 2 to 3. Is it possible to bulk without tracking calories? Yes, it is. But I would track your calories like, 1 to 3 days just so you know where you're at and like you know what you're eating. And so that you're not accidentally eating in a deficit or something like that. You said, how do I get stronger knees? I would do probably mobility work. Also, some of it could be hips and ankle. That's why I'm saying there's not a one-stop shop. Like it depends on the person. Ronaldo is the most aesthetic Mexican. Yes. How to train during Ramadan? I think my brother Mario said he's going to make a video on that. Which kind of type of content do you prefer doing? Videos, shorts, and streams? That's a good question. I think probably streams, even though I don't do streams often. It's just not too much effort, and I'm able to interact with you guys. So best stability exercises, probably like a tough plank variation, farmer carries, suitcase carries, and Pavlov press, I would say. Should you do plyometrics before or after weight exercises? Before. Tips on losing weight: track your calories, make sure you're eating in a slight deficit, and just go from there. How do you get better at pull-ups? Do more pull-ups, but I think negative pull-ups are so when you jump up on the bar and do heavy eccentric, has to be one of the best ways to get better at pull-ups. And then also band-assisted pull-ups are good too. What's my bench? I haven't checked my bench in a while. When I was at my bulk, I was able to do at one point I was able to do 225 for 8 reps. So how do you keep a straight face in some of these comments? I don't know, dude. Barbell rows or pull-ups first? Doesn't matter. I would switch it up though. Thoughts on El Campion's training? It's a very awkward training style. I'll have to say that. Are we Mexican? No. Bro, how are you doing, man? I'm doing good. Deadlifts or pull-ups first? I would do deadlifts first. Recommended plyometric exercise to get bouncier. Just typical plyometric, but it depends if you're a beginner or if you're intermediate or advanced. There's no best exercise, again, with plyometric. It's all about variety, just like lifting weights. It's all about using variety. Is rope jumping good exercise? Cardio exercise? Yeah. How to get more flexible? Do mobility work, stretch. How tall am I? I'm 5'11". You think I'll be able to start doing pull-ups if I do bent over rows? No, I back then when I was back when I was starting lifting, I spammed barbell rows and I never got better at pull-ups. The only way that I got better at pull-ups was going and actually doing pull-ups because you also have to consider that barbell row is a horizontal pull versus a pull-up, which is a vertical pull. They're different movements. Make a video explaining all types of reps. It's not really that complicated. 1 to 5 strength, 6 to 12 will be ideal for hypertrophy. And then anything from like 12 up will be more endurance. But recent research shows that 5 to 30 reps of taking close to failure will do the same for muscle growth. But my thing is, why would you want to go up to 30 reps? It's just a waste of time and it would take longer for you to get to failure. Make it more difficult too because it'll burn. Can you improve your posture with no equipment, Martine? Yes. Thoughts on Lucas Tracy? I think he's pretty cool. Is weighted push-ups better than bench press? Like I said, there's no best exercise. I wouldn't say something is better than another, unless you're talking about machines. Are grippers useful? Yeah, you can use them. I think pharmacare is enough, though. Did I go to UCLA? No. Where do you see yourself in 10 years in terms of fitness? I see myself as number one. Favorite stretches you like to do? I like to do more like hamstring and adductor stretches just because those are important for higher kicks. So, do squats train hamstrings also to a degree? They do train the hamstrings to a degree, but they're not hit heavily. That's why you do RDLs for your hamstrings. Who's more aesthetic, you or Mario? I don't know. I would say me. He probably would say he's more aesthetic, which is fine. Do more sparring content, please. I've never really done sparring content. It's kind of like a fighter. Like, you don't really post your sparring content. How consistent are you with stretching? I'm like decently consistent. I got more consistent when I actually started doing martial arts, so I had a reason to do mobility work. How are you so wholesome compared to Mario? I don't know. I'm just being myself here. Opinions on Jeff Nippert and his science-based training. I think Jeff Nippert has good content. A lot of these guys, like, people think like I hate these guys. Like, there's like even Jeff Nippert, even Dr. Mike. I agree with them on a good amount of stuff, but there's also things I disagree with them on. I think, using research is important, but some people over rely on research, and I think Jeff Nippert is one of those people. Thoughts on Saul Select? He seems like a cool guy. How old am I? I'm 24. If you only feel your right pec when benching with a barbell, I would stick to dumbbell for a little bit. Yeah. What's your workout split? I'm currently doing an athlete workout split. Are you taller than Mario? Yes. I'm an inch taller. Wrestling or jiu-jitsu? Wrestling. Some of you guys are re-asking questions when I already answered them, by the way. How can we start doing Nordics? Do eccentric Nordics, so just focus on eccentric and then like push yourself off the ground up. And then if you can get a band to help you do assisted or like band assisted Nordics, that'd be a good idea. But it's a little bit difficult to set that up. So can you 405 deadlift? Yes, I can rep out 405. Bro, can we do cardio while bulking? Yeah, you can. Do you think people meat ride Muay Thai and BJJ? BJJ for sure. I wouldn't really say that about Muay Thai, but BJJ for sure, yeah. Is content your full-time job? Yes. Ngannou's like a stiff bodybuilder without much skill, overweighing power people with size. Well, he has skill, but Cyril Gane kind of showed that there's levels in terms of skill, even though he lost. I thought he won that fight, though. Is Krav Maga good? I've never done Krav Maga, but that's like a pure self-defense. How come sometimes when I enter the gym, I can't do the same weights as before? Sometimes it could be down a diet. It could be from fatigue from the last workout. I wouldn't overthink it. Sometimes at the gym, you're going to be really strong, and sometimes you're not. It just happens. Do you hate Khabib? No. What's your opinion on Olympic weightlifting? I don't like it. I think it's kind of useless, to be honest. I think Olympic weightlifting could be good for athletes, actually. But the problem with Olympic lifting is it takes forever to learn, and it's just not worth it. Can you do a cardio video? Maybe in the future, yes. Thoughts on power cleans and hand cleans? I already answered that question. What should I do in the gym as a soccer player? Train movements. I made a video on an athlete workout, which you should check out. Do squats also target your hamstrings? Yeah, I answered this already. It does to a certain degree, but not very well. Is the adductor machine good? I don't have too much beef with that one because it's kind of hard to hit your adductors using free weights. So I don't think it's terrible, but I think a Copenhagen plant would be very good. Does cutting diet interfere with ACL injury recovery? I don't think so, but I'm not 100% positive on that one. Dawson Volka as a fighter, I think he's a very good fighter. What is the best exercise for a basketball player? Like I said, there's no best exercise. That's why my body weight 2 days ago for 4 reps without a bell is that impressive. That's very subjective, but you should just consider your goals based on what you think. If that's your best you've ever done, then you should be proud of yourself. But you shouldn't need me to tell you if something's impressive or not. It should be down to what you think. Are sprints good on days you don't lift weights? Yeah, sprints are good. Just make sure it's not interfering with your recovery. So if your legs feel like trash the next day, then kind of adjust your schedule based on that. What's your deadlift? I haven't done a max deadlift in a long time, but on my brother's strength video, I did 405 for 8 reps, I believe. Is KFC good for black people? I think it is. Does tart cherry juice help with recovery? I actually drink that after my workout. Apparently it does, according to research. So should I do leg press? You know what? Like people think I have a ton of beef with machines, which I kind of do, but it's also like, hey, if you're not using that as a replacement for squats and you're just doing for extra volume, then okay, that's fine. But it shouldn't be a replacement for squats. If I cut, can I gain muscle? You maybe could, but I wouldn't count on it. Tips on building your own brand. Don't quit. You got to find a way to be different, and attention is key, regardless of it. Like people act like they're like, oh, like people trash on you. It's like, there's no such thing as bad attention. People don't understand that. Is there anything bad in using both machines and free weights? Like I mentioned earlier, you shouldn't be using machines as a replacement for foundational exercises. But if you're doing it just for extra work, then that's not bad at all. Is soccer unskilled? No, it's very skilled. Hair care routine, get in the shower, get my hair wet, let it air dry. I'm skinny fat. What should I do? My brother Mario has a great video on skinny fat, but essentially you need to build muscle. That's the reason why you're skinny fat, because you have no muscle. How do you heal from a concussion? You got to rest, dude. But I don't know. There's actually PTs for concussion. I would look that up, though, because I'm not an expert on that. I took a class on concussions a year ago, but I really don't even remember what it was about. Thoughts on Gervonta Davis? I think he's a good fighter. Good mornings or RDLs? Both. How do I grow taller? That's environmental. Just try and eat a good diet. And that's about it. I mean, a lot of it's genetic. I wouldn't overthink that. Kamaru Usman, question mark? Don't know what you mean by that. But I used to dislike Kamaru Usman, but I respected him for taking that fight on short notice against Chimaev. Can negative pull-ups get me to doing full-range pull-ups? Yes, they can, because you're strengthening the same muscles. Can you cut as a teen, or does it stunt growth? It doesn't stunt growth. I wouldn't try and get crazy lean, though, as a teen. There's no reason why you would want to, or you need to do that. Does Mario have Kawhi Leonard posture? He wishes he did. Leon Edwards or John Jones? Leon. How do I stay consistent? You got to go when you don't want to go. I went through that. I would go to the gym whenever I didn't want to go. I think a great way to be consistent is to go with a friend who keeps you accountable. Ilya Taporia or Sugar Sean? Ilya Taporia. Someone asked about what do I recommend when doing pull-ups on a very thick bar. It's most likely the grip strength that's a little more difficult for you on that one. But I wouldn't overthink it. Just try and do your best on it. Does bulking actually work for growing muscle? Yes, that's the way you build muscle. You got to be eating more. Can teens have abs? Yes. Should MMA fighters condition their testicles to be ready for any situation? I would say so, yeah. Sean O'Malley or Cheeto Vera? I think Sean O'Malley will win, but I hope Cheeto Vera wins. Least favorite fighter? Adesanya for sure. Going to the gym 3 days a week as a combat fighter, good enough, or should I go more often? It depends where you're at, but I would say 3 days a week is good, as long as you're doing your plyos and you're also doing your lifts. Are goblet squats a good leg exercise? They're good to put in. Definitely wouldn't be my strength builder, though, because they can be a little difficult, but I mean, it's a front-loaded squat. I would say it's a good exercise to add occasionally. When should I start a 6 days a week training program? Whenever you feel like you're ready and you can handle it. Can you grow muscle if you're lean? Yeah, but it's not the optimal way to grow muscle. Is Mighty Mouse aesthetic? Yeah, he's got a good physique, I would say. What's your athlete workout split? Just like full body essentially, but it's based on movement, it's not muscles. What exercise works in your hips? Well, squat, but kind of a weird question. How do you track progressive overload? Just write down the weights you do and then try and beat that the next session. Is sparring 5 days a week ruining my hypertrophy? I would say sparring 5 days a week is ruining your brain. Can you lose fat and build muscle simultaneously? I would say you could. It's more likely that someone who's a newbie will, but you shouldn't count on that. Optimal body fat percentage for performance, probably like 10 to 12, I would say. Am I a geeky bodybuilder who spams machines? Of course not. Martine, I'm struggling to do hip thrusts. I get an erection that hurts really bad. Just move it out of the way when you're doing it. Are 5 reps enough to build muscle? Yeah, but I would probably go a little bit higher. Is listening to Ice Spice at the gym optimal? Definitely is not. RDLs or hip thrusts, they're different movements. RDLs will be more hamstrings. Hip thrusts will be more glutes. Do both of them. Any cuts trying to maintain strength? Take the cut slowly. Don't go on a crazy deficit because then you're going to lose your strength. How can I strengthen my back stabilizing muscles? I made a video on stability and it goes over the back stabilizing muscles. But why and T raises essentially. Do deadlifts engage my obliques as good as my abs? No, they don't. That's why you should add rotation because the compound lifts don't really work on rotation very well. Who's more aesthetic, Cheeto or O'Malley? Oh, that's a good question because they're both not very aesthetic. I would say probably O'Malley. If you can't do a pull-up, are you heavy or weak? It depends, but yeah, it really depends actually. It comes down to just being weak though. Is being above 200 pounds good for MMA? You should be pretty lean. If you're lean and over 200 pounds, yeah, but you probably wouldn't be in this stream if you were over 200 pounds and shredded. Who's more aesthetic, Dustin Poirier or SpongeBob? Probably SpongeBob. Most attractive part of a woman? Probably just legs in general because there's some girls who have like no thighs essentially and only have glutes. It's like you got to be balanced. It's like a guy having only chest and nothing else. It just doesn't look good. How do you train the rotation movement? Cable rotations or Pavlov press for anti-rotation or plyometrics. Anti-stretch marks. Stretch marks happen. Just accept them. Dumbbell bicep curls or cable curls. I personally like dumbbell bicep curls, but you should do both. How do you work out during summer away from gym? Find a gym close by, I would say. Do you train rotator cuff? Not directly. I have though, but once your rotator cuff is strong, then it will do its job stabilizing in free weight movement. So like a bench press, a pull up. Is BJJ soy? It's soy if you only do BJJ, and it's a way to say you do a martial art, but you don't want to get hit in the face. What exercises should you focus on in the gym as someone who does boxing? And my athlete workout, I talked about that. It's movements. You got to do all the foundational human movements. Who's the most aesthetic fit chick? I'm not really up to date on the fitness, the female fitness space. I know I'm number one in the female fitness space, but I don't know about the people who are ranks lower than me. But I know I'm number one in female fitness space. Is personality better, body, or both? You gotta have both. There are some girls that are freaking boring, dude, and you can be attractive, but if you're boring, it's just not. It's not it. Have you ever thought about taking steroids? No. Leon Edwards or Mighty Mouse? Leon Edwards. I'm working on making a legit channel on UFC and fitness. Do you have any advice? Yeah, just believe in yourself. Firstly, I think that's super important. Believe in yourself, and then remember that an important thing is to make sure you get attention and be different than people. So if somebody's already done it, like, yeah, you could technically copy them, but they've already done it before. Your path is going to be different. So definitely focus on getting attention and trying to be different. So it could be something like, hey, these people, there's not a big space in the MMA, UFC where people break down fights super heavily. So maybe you do that, but don't try and be somebody else. Will I get a girlfriend when I bench 225? No, you'll get a boyfriend. Poirier or Bennett St. Denis? Bennett St. Denis, probably. Any advice on getting into PT school? I think a 6-year program is the best because 7 years for PT is just way too long. I didn't even say 6 is kind of long. Just make sure you get good grades and make sure you apply to a variety of different places. I'll be honest, I wasn't the best student in high school when I got into PT school. So it's because of this racist affirmative action thing. They gave me a freaking scholarship and I got in. Can you dunk? I can touch rim. I don't know if I can dunk, though. Top races in women, I'm not going to go over that because I could get in trouble for that. Biggest disappointment you've ever had? That's a good question, but I wouldn't really even say that I've ever had a big disappointment because I feel like everything leads you to where you're supposed to go. And if you had a big disappointment, then you should use it as a learning experience and let it make you better. Martine, thoughts on Eddie Abu? I think he actually speaks a lot of facts, and people don't like him because he's it's kind of like what we're doing. We're saying different things. We're challenging the norm. So tomorrow's my physics exam. Wish me luck. Good luck on your physics exam. Lift before you do an exam. I used to love lifting before I took a test. My analogy was that, before an MMA fighter fights, he doesn't spar 10 rounds. So you shouldn't be studying an hour or 2 hours before your test. Like, you should relax. How tall am I? I'm 5'11". How many push-ups should I be able to do before I up the weight? I think you should just be able to do like maybe 6. I think you should try and up the weight as fast as possible. That's where I noticed a big improvement. Can I take creatine as 14-year-old? I've mentioned this before. There's no need to rush it. Like, I took creatine when I was 19. I would say start taking creatine when you're really consistent at the gym. What made you a Chelsea fan? What made Mario a West Ham fan? Mario liked West Ham because, like, the Premier League is obviously very popular and very easy to watch over here. So, and he liked West Ham, the fans and stuff like that. You'd have to ask him about that one more in detail. The Chelsea one's kind of a long story. Essentially, my cousin gave me a FIFA 10 South Africa video game, and I remember that Ghana lost. So I used them. And then Michael Essien was the best player on Ghana. So I was like, when I was looking for a club, I was like, who does Michael Essien play for? Oh, he played for Chelsea. Okay, I like Chelsea. How do you make increase in vertical? Just do plyometrics. Is your push or pull stronger? My pull for sure is stronger. Well, I really don't know because it's like I cannot barbell row as much as I can bench more than I barbell row. But if you're talking about deadlifting, then yeah, I can deadlift way more than I can bench. Your opinion on Colby Covington's dad joke on Leon Edwards? That was obviously pretty messed up. It's crazy how that actually sold a lot of pay-per-views, though. But yeah, that's definitely messed up. But that's a line you shouldn't cross. What's your max squat? I've been able to do 315 for like 8 reps. I think that ends up being like 385. But that was when I was a little bit, when I was like bulking and I was at my chubbiest. Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis. I've mentioned this before. I think Saint Denis will win. Is it wise to try and learn 2 martial arts simultaneously at different clubs, a striking one and a grappling art? I think it is. Some people may recommend that you try and master one and then do the other one, which I think is a valid technique. But, Leon Edwards trained MMA as a whole, so that could be a route that you can take as well. Is Didier Drogba the most athletic Chelsea player of all time? No, N'Golo Kante is. Do you watch anime? No. Mario, how did you pick your genetics? Martine, by the way. But essentially, like before I was born, a screen popped up and I got to pick what attributes I got. So obviously I picked as my number 1 attributes how handsome I am and my humbleness. So those are the 2 attributes that I picked. Martin, do you think you could beat Eddie Hall or Hawthorne in a fight? No, they're way too big for me. How detrimental is a wide stance squat, especially with long femurs? If you find it more comfortable, yeah. It shouldn't be like ridiculously wide. Oh, Alejandro Rios, thanks. Yeah, I saw you had the same last name as me. Yeah, thanks for watching our videos. If you train 3 days a week, should you be doing full body workouts? You can easily do a push-pull leg split too. Just find whichever one you like the most. Martin, posture work is better in the beginning of the workout, right? I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say there's a best time to do it. I would just do it whatever you find the best. Do you listen to Hispanic music? No. Who is more humble, Mario or Martin? I think I am. Can you train while sore? You can. If you happen to be sore, I would take a little lighter though. Are you focused on performance or building muscle? I'm more focused on performance right now, just because I'm doing MMA more consistently now, and I've been trying to build muscle for a long time, and it got to a point where it's kind of boring now. I'd rather build muscle that actually can do a lot of stuff. Incline or flat bench press, both of them. What is your first language? Spanish? No, English. Or it might have been Spanish, actually. I speak English the best, though, but my parents speak Spanish, so. How can I maximize muscle growth when I'm 6'2" and my range of motion is more? I feel like a lot of people think that their situation is different or their situation is special. You train the same as everybody else. What does creatine benefit in? Creatine is very beneficial to help with your strength and performance at the gym, which obviously means more muscle growth. How many times per week do I do plyos? I would say 2 to 3 times per week. Who wins, you or Goku? I don't really know Goku, so I don't watch anime, so I would say I'd win. Is Mario your only sibling? No. Weighted dips or bench press? Well, they're kind of different, right? Bench press is more of a flat, is more mid chest, and then dips are more low chest. So, should I wear a belt while I deadlift? I personally don't recommend wearing belts at all. But if you are gonna wear a belt, you should do it for like near maximal lifts only. How much time do you spend at the gym? Maybe like an hour and a half. What's the best ab exercise? Just your compound lift, squat, deadlift. Best ab workouts other than static training. I made a video on that. It's how to get aesthetic abs in 4 exercises, which you should check out. Can I eat Greek yogurt to build muscle? Yeah. You can eat anything to build muscle. Look at Sam Sulek. Why do you have straight hair when Mario has curly hair? It's because I just showered. That's why my hair is straight. But we both have curly hair. Are leg extensions bad for knees? I wouldn't say they are. Pyotr Yan or Song Yudong? I think Pyotr Yan will win. Is a physics bachelor Jack nerd inspirational? Because that's what I'm going for. Physics bachelor Jack nerd. I don't understand what you mean by that. Would you recommend multivitamins? I feel like there's a lot of research that shows that it's actually not that beneficial. But I would say probably no. I think it's a waste of money. You can live like kings in Guatemala, you and Mario. We literally make that joke all the time. We're like, if we moved to Guatemala, we could literally live like kings. Is there a good way to train abductors at home? Yeah, like lie on your side and lift your leg up. Is an upper lower split good for athletes? I think full body is better. Best way to grow rear delts. Make sure you're doing your wide grip rows and also doing cable rear delt fly. What's your ethnicity? I'm Hispanic. Why do you say powerlifters skip other athletic movements when most powerlifters do those as accessories? Because they don't prioritize them, and also them doing accessory work doesn't mean that's called powerlifting. It's like if a soccer player supplements their skills training with strength and conditioning training, they don't go into the gym and say they're playing soccer. No, they're lifting weights. What's the best split for basketball players? Like I said before, there's no number one split. I think a lot of athletes train very similar. I feel like people think that their athletes are trained super, super different. Were you at the Arnold Expo? I didn't even know that was a thing. How do you get the motivation to stay consistent with your diet? I would say motivation is a little overrated. You just have to be disciplined and try and eat foods that you like. Make it taste good. Martin versus Amanda Nunes, who wins? I believe I would win. I could maybe try and cut down to 135. If you gave me a training camp, I would 100% win. This is why Martin Rios is the most aesthetic Guatemalan while Mario is second. I agree with that. Can you talk about the butt wink and the squat exercise? I think a lot of the times the butt wink, what happens is people like try and go too deep. All that shows to me is that you're losing tension in your body. I think that you should stop before you get that butt wink. I think there's still too much of a people love range of motion way too much and they overdo it. High bar or low bar squat? I high bar squat. There's nothing wrong with low bar squat. You're going to be stronger. How can I get a strong core? Do rotation, farmer carries, and do ground-based free weight exercises. Why do you train gym more than martial arts? It's just I'm not trying to be a fighter or anything. I almost think of fitness as something I have to do, and I think of MMA as a hobby. What can I do if I have low calf insertions? Nothing, but you shouldn't use that to stop you from anything. You're going to do the same as everybody else. Are you nicer than Mario? Yeah, Mario bullies people online. Is it good to do ass to grass squats? If you find them beneficial and you can get through that range of motion, then yeah. Thoughts on Leon Edwards' physique? Best physique in the world. What sports produce the most athletic athletes? I wouldn't really say that because it's like, for example, a basketball player, like they don't get tall by playing basketball. They play basketball because they're tall. So a lot of the times people end up just playing the sport because of their physical attributes. But I would probably have to say gymnastics. Ideal size for a woman, like height or weight? Favorite compound movement? Probably deadlift. Can someone 260 no skills beat a 140 MMA fighter? I mean, anything's possible, but I would say that chances are slim. Are face pulls an optimal rear delt exercise, or are there better ones? It's a good exercise. You should use it, but the cable rear delt flies are going to be the best one for isolating the rear delts. Prime C-Bone versus Prime John Jones in a fight. It's funny how you put the laughing faces. Yeah, freaking C-Bone would get murdered. Is Mario really a bully? No, I was just joking. Top 5 MMA fighters. John Jones first. GSP second. Mighty Mouse, Anderson Silva. I don't really have a fifth. I'd have to actually sit down and think about the fifth one. What's the best exercise for MMA? Probably, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a best exercise. You got to do a variety. But, I mean, trap bar, deadlifts, zerker squats are good ones. Thoughts on the epidemic of guys using the gym as cope? Cope from what? Can dead hangs help with grip? Yes, they can. Pick one for the rest of your life. Deadlift, squat, overhead press. I would say probably a deadlift. I'm a basketball player, but I have big calves. What should I do? Train the same as everybody else. Don't let it stop you. I mean, it's obviously not optimal genetics. It's like, for example, I have like a narrow build. That might not be optimal for like aesthetics reasons, but I'm not going to change the way I train because of that. How to do posture exercises at home? Do them on the floor. Least important muscles for MMA. I wouldn't even say there's a muscle that's not important. Can Prime GSP beat Leon Edwards? Ooh, that would be an interesting fight. That'd be a very interesting fight, actually. I would say Leon still. Are front squats better than Bulgarian split squats for quads? I think you should do both again. I wouldn't say there's one better, but in terms of like muscle growth, I'd probably say Bulgarian split squats are better. What machines are good? I think the adductor machine is not bad, but I'm not really a big fan of machines. Who's better at MMA, you or Mario? I don't really know, but I've said this before. My goal is not to be better than him, and his goal is not to be better than me. Our goal is just to be the best version of ourselves. Will your 120-day athleticism package help me build some muscle? Yes, it will. It's obviously not prioritizing muscle growth, but it 100% will help you build muscle, especially if you're eating at bulk. Are any workout splits better than the other in terms of building muscle? No. I've always said this before. The one that you enjoy the most will be the most beneficial. Strength training or hypertrophy training? I would say hypertrophy training. Does better flexibility help with prevent injury? Yes, it does. Is Mario playing FIFA? Yes. What do you think is the most toxic fan base of any sport? I feel like there's no toxic fan base of a sport. I think it mostly comes down to like fan bases, like of like in niches of sports. So like I think that the Dagestani fan base is toxic. So should athletes train power or strength? Both, but I would prioritize power though. How do I train for performance? Train movements, not muscles, and make sure you do your plyometric training. What split would you do for 4 days? I would probably do Well, what was the one that I thought of doing? I'll do push, pull, leg, shoulders. I would do. So you wouldn't include shoulders on push. Favorite sport besides MMA? I would say probably soccer. Who do you think is going to win the Premier League? I think City will, but I don't know, dude. I don't even care at this point. I'm just trying to make sure Chelsea finishes at a respectable level and hopefully wins the FA Cup. NBA GOAT. I think LeBron is the GOAT. Martine, see you at the top. I'll see you at the top too. How many girlfriends have you had? I have about 8 or 9 right now. Do you like Greg Doucette? I wouldn't say I dislike him, but I wouldn't say I like him.
He's been acting retarded recently.
Are you actually friends with Leon Edwards? Be honest. Yes. Hey, Martine, some bodybuilders in my gym make fun of me since I do plyometrics and working out standing up. I mean, I don't understand why they would make fun of you for that. That's kind of weird. They're probably just coping, to be honest, because they do lazy-ass exercises. Hey, Martine, you actually smile like Mario? Yeah, because he's ugly. He doesn't want to show his teeth. How to do rotation exercises at home? It would just be like, it's just very hard to train rotation without equipment, to be honest. I would buy a medicine ball, dude, and just throw it on the side of your house if you have like a brick house. Can Alex become a 3-division champ? I don't think so. Martine, who should I vote for in President 2024 race? I think you know what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to freaking say it. 5'7", 170 pounds, too heavy? Depends what you look like. I mean, like I said before, it depends on frame. You know, it's like I'm like 170 right now, I think, and people might think that's small for someone who's 5'11", but I also just have a narrow frame. So how do you train to punch harder? You do plyometrics. Will Leon become double champ at middleweight? That'll be interesting. It's hard not to favor the guy that's that middleweight or the guy who's fighting at his natural weight class, but I can see Leon doing that. Do you exaggerate your claims for views? Sometimes, or somewhat, yeah, just like to get attention. It's like, for example, when I say machines are stupid, I think machines are stupid, to be honest. Like, everything I say, I believe, but I do exaggerate to some degree because people get mad. It's hilarious to piss these guys off. Should you train legs even if sore? I would either take a break or take it lightly. Caicedo is bad. Caicedo is good. Are heavyweight fighters the strongest in UFC? Probably because they're just bigger. Favorite gym machine? I don't have a favorite gym machine. Should you stretch every day? I wouldn't say you should, but if you would like to, yeah. Upper body workout for a sprinter? Train movements. Push, pull. Tips to grow inner chest? It's just building muscle in your chest. Leon versus Islam, who wins? Leon wins. Favorite Chelsea player? It was N'Golo Kante. Chicken or steak? Steak. Martine, why does Mario never smile? Because it's serious business. Martine, do you ever argue with Mario? Yeah, sometimes. I mean, brothers argue sometimes. Is the gym on social media gay as fuck in your opinion? To be honest, the way that people are bodybuilding it's just so cringe nowadays. It's ridiculous. Favorite free weight exercises? Squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press. Martin, have you played the Undisputed Boxing game? No, it looks like trash in my opinion. It just looks like a trash version of UFC. Martin, what would you do if a girl beat you in a fight? That wouldn't happen. Who do you think is going to win in UFC 300 that we know of? I think Alex Pereira will win. I'll just talk about the main event. Alex Pereira, yeah. All right, I'm going to start answering a few more questions and then wrap it up here. Martin, what college did you go to? I don't like to say that because I think they treated me unfairly, so I'm not going to get into that. What is the most stupid machine? I think those machines that Panada makes are so dramatic, and it's just so stupid, some of them. What good workout for monkeys? I think monkeys should do a lot of bar work. Your opinion on incline chest press? You're talking about the machine? I don't like that. Martino, I'm curious, what is the reason you suggest hypertrophy over strength training? I'm not suggesting. I just think it's cooler to build muscle than to be strong. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. Prime Tony would have been tough for Khabib. I would have loved to see that fight. Will this cringe age of bodybuilding end? I think I'm going to put a stop to it. How high can I bulk at 5'5"? You can bulk as long as you want. My gym doesn't allow free weights. What do you recommend for me? That's crazy. Body weight then. Who's more aesthetic, monkeys or cyborgs? I would say monkeys. Leon or Shavkat? Leon. Should you do cardio every day as an athlete? Well, consider the fact that skills training is considered cardio, by the way. Most aesthetic height? 5'5"? I would say the most aesthetic height, 6'3", 6'4", but obviously I'm not there. How to get better at agility? It's like agility is reaction, so you got to do a lot of reaction work. Who would win in a fight, Joe Rogan or Dr. Mike? Joe Rogan for sure. I'm 5'11", weigh 215. What weight should I be at? There's no weight. Exactly. There's no number one weight. What are examples to plyometrics to punch and kick harder? Jumping, throwing, rotational plyometrics. Should I train like Jimmy Butler? If you're an athlete, then yeah. 5'10" to 6'4" is the most aesthetic range. I would say so. But if you're above, for some reason above that or lower than that, that shouldn't change anything that you do. Martin, what is your favorite NBA team? The Miami Heat. I'm actually going to the Mavericks Heat game on Thursday, so I'm excited for that. Charles versus McGregor. I think Oliveira would win. Why do you think bodybuilding became so prominent in the fitness space? Because people want to build muscle and look good, but recently, whenever I started watching fitness, it was way different than it is now. Now it's all about being lazy, being optimal. Then some of these really cringe posts, that stuff was not around when I was watching fitness. What's your favorite chest exercises? Bench, incline bench, and then some sort of fly variation, cable fly variation. Do you think weighted calisthenics is underrated for athleticism? To some degree, but remember, you can't train all the movements with calisthenics. It's going to be hard to do rowing. Who wins, Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney? I would say Devin Haney, but I'm not really up to date on boxing. So, Martin, can I do boxing and football with athletic bodybuilding at the same time? Yeah, you can, but you got to make sure that you're balancing out your schedule. If you're doing that much sport work, I would probably lift 3 days a week. How many days should I work out as a basketball athlete? It's called periodization. It depends what point of the season you're at. Is Mario losing his match?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's losing, unfortunately. Best rear delt exercise is very confused. I would say face pulls, cable reverse fly, and just some wide grip rowing variations. Who would win, Bradley Martin or Chris Barnett? Probably Chris Barnett. I run 4 days a week. Should I still lift 6 days a week? You can, as long as it doesn't affect your recovery, and you can tell by just listening to your body. Who's older, you or Mario? Mario's older than me. Martin Mario versus John Jones. John Jones would win. Who's your favorite Miami Heat player? Growing up, it was Wade, but now Dwayne Wade's kind of weird. But I would say probably Jimmy Butler. What is your proof that Dagestani fighters are on steroids? A lot of them have actually popped. Even Islam has popped. Would you rather train MMA with Leon or bedroom cardio with Sally Safari? I would rather train MMA with Leon. Should I also track my protein on the days I'm not working out? Yeah. Why do you dislike Chimaev? I don't know if I've ever said I dislike him, but it's because he calls people out. That's only an easy matchup for him. And then he called out Pereira and said he was scared just because he wouldn't fight him a month after he went to war with Adesanya. It was just ridiculous. Hey, why do I feel my forearms in preacher curls? Because you're flexing your wrist. Why is Sarah Safari attractive? I don't think she's crazy attractive, to be honest. I just use it as a joke. Is Sarah Safari your type? Oh, yeah, probably not. I would say, no, I'm not. Probably not. Sarah Safari is not my type. Is it easy to pass drug tests? Yeah, especially if you know when it's happening. Martine, which is your type? In terms of like, I'm not gonna go into like specific appearances, but I would say like more like slim, thick girls. I think are the hottest ones. Why do you like Adesanya? Dislike Adesanya? He's the cringe lord. What is your opinion on massage guns? Overrated or useful for muscle recovery? They are useful for muscle recovery. I think that muscle recovery is just kind of weird in my opinion. It's like, do you really suck ass at recovering that badly? Is your split that bad that you need that? Doesn't make any sense unless you're playing like a sport like where you're like heavily practicing and you actually like need the recovery. Fine, but if you're only lifting weights, then why do you need to recover that? Like, is your recovery that bad? I don't understand that. Love from India. Thank you, India. What is your opinion on Bruce Lee physique? He had a crazy physique. He wasn't that big, but he was really lean. That just shows you that you don't gotta have like a crazy amount of muscles. Can you do more long form videos? Yes, I'm trying to. I have to edit my own videos right now, so it can be a little difficult. But yeah, I'm definitely planning on that. I'm trying to do one long form per week, and then maybe once I get on a roll and I build like a bigger long form audience, I'll start to do 2. Can I say the N word? You'd have to ask someone else to give you an N word pass. I don't have that. Can you still be aesthetic with big calves? Yeah, you can. Obviously I would say smaller calves are more aesthetic, but you can build an aesthetic physique regardless of your frame. It's just going to look different with everybody. Good night, brother. Good night to you too. Is your good buddy Lyoto Machida natty? Hell no, he's not. Usman versus Strickland? I think Usman would win because he already beat him. Would you date a girl with muscle? Not a ton of muscle. Like, it just looks too masculine in my opinion. Farmer carries how many times a week? 2 to 3 times per week. I would do it on your back day. Just add at the end of your back day. That'll make it easy for you to do it. A character, do you generally not understand that different people have different goals? Yeah, but it's funny how pissed off people get. Best bicep exercise. I would say make sure you do a compound, so chin-ups, and then do some isolations or just dumbbell curls. Do you think wrestling is one of the hardest sports? I think becoming a top athlete of any sport is hard. But in terms of mental, yeah, I think combat sports mentally have to be one of the toughest things. I have hip stability problems. What exercise do you recommend? Like a deficit lunge, I think is what it's called. But definitely making sure you strengthen your hip abductors is important. Yo, Martin, how's your day going? Going good. How to progress to pull-ups as a beginner? Negative pull-ups, and then making sure you do some band-assisted pull-ups. Are you worried about running out of content for your shorts? No. And if I was, it would just happen. Like whatever you focus on, and that involves being worried, it's going to happen. Dawson Charles Oliveira, he's one of my favorite fighters. Is sled a good wrestling exercise? Yeah, sled pushing is good for any athlete. How do I train knee flexion in a functional way? It would be Nordic curls. Should I train these muscle group twice per week? Ideally, yeah. Izzy versus Sean 2. I think Izzy should fight Drakus, even though he doesn't deserve the title shot. I think it'll be an interesting fight. Favorite basketball player, Jimmy Butler. Can I complete swap normal deadlifts for trap bar? You can. I would do both still, though. All right, I'll do a few more questions, and then I'll call it. $2. Thank you from doesn't know name. Tips to get women. Tips to get women is women like to have fun. So it's all about joking around with them. I'm kind of goofy when I'm talking with the girls, and they typically like it. It's all about being confident and also trying to have fun. Girls like guys who are fun. You don't have to be all serious all the time. It's about having fun. I think teasing girls has to be one of the best ways you can do it. Thank you for the donation, Mr. Clutch. Is a 210 bench at 170 good at 14? Yeah, but like I said before, you should just be proud of what you're doing. If you find that impressive, then yes, but you shouldn't have to rely on somebody else telling you some kind of lift is good. It's like, Someone might say yeah, someone might say no. So you should just base it off of your own progress and what you think. How often should you do a mobility flexibility session per week? It really depends on your goals. What kind of content do you watch on YouTube? I pretty much just watch MMA content and sports, to be honest. Have you ever got into a fight with someone you had beef with? Like, not a physical fight, no. Best ab exercise, heavy squats, deadlifts, farmer carries. Will you join the UFC? Yes. Is it possible to get stronger on a boat? You'll most likely get stronger on a boat because you're getting bigger. Islam versus Prime Connor. Prime Connor was unmatched. How to escape prison? Believe that you're free. All right, I'm going to answer just a couple more questions. Do you watch NFL? No. Tips on losing the last little bit of fat. If you can't lose it, that means you're not eating at enough of a deficit. So eat a little bit less. Some suggestions for posture exercises. I have a whole video on posture. Worst injury you've ever had? Probably I just hurt my wrist one time. Oh no, I broke my arm when I was 6, actually. What's the main reason for men to learn martial art? Number one, you get into great shape. The other thing is that it's great for self-improvement because you become more confident, and you're also not afraid to speak your mind because if something happens, worst case scenario, you're prepared. It's like you end up walking around different knowing that you can fight. Covington or Islam? I used to say Covington. I think Islam will beat him now. Pochettino in or out? I would say in.
Out.
Mr. Clutch, thanks for $2. What's the worst exercise? That's a good question. I think the worst exercise has to be the behind the neck shoulder press. Has to be one of the worst ones. I would say a lot of machines, but I would say behind the neck shoulder press. It makes no sense in my opinion because you gotta move your neck, and you're also just not as strong in that position either. You're not pushing in the scapular plane. It's just not a great exercise for those reasons. Pull body or push-pull legs when doing 2 to 3 times a week. If your goal is to build muscle, both of them are good. Just do whichever one you want. Yes, mate. What a G. Love your videos. Appreciate it. Are you a Chelsea fan? Yes, I am. Worse than tricep kickbacks? I think dumbbell tricep kickbacks. I don't really even include that one because the resistance profile on that one's so bad. But if you do it on a cable, it's not terrible because you got to work the muscle in the short and long positions. How many days a week should an athlete work out? It depends on the season. What is the hardest sport out of all the sports? I think MMA is. But like I said before, becoming a top level of any sport is something that's difficult. All right, I'm going to end it here, guys. Thank you guys for coming in. Favorite Hazard goal has to be one of his against Tottenham. But anyways, thank you guys for coming in. I might stream again because I actually got a lot of people in here, and a lot of you guys asked some great questions. So yeah, I'll let you guys know whenever I'm streaming again. But thanks for joining the stream.